I think I answered the second question, where we are on farm labor, a little bit earlier. But what I will say is that Lori Chavez de Rimmer is our Secretary of Labor, and the H-2A visa program, all of the programs that inure to moving in seasonal ag workers are under Secretary Chavez de Rimmer. She has been working around the clock with her team. I think we'll probably hear a little bit more about this today, and the conversations will continue. But I can't underscore enough, there will be no amnesty. The mass deportations continue, but in a strategic way, and we move the workforce towards automation and 100% American participation, which again with 34.
And you know what? They're going to have the ability to do that thanks to the law. So even though you get the state versus federal thing going on, and there's lots of fireworks and there's lots of, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. The reality is you're going to have to, because we're not going to tolerate this kind of anarchy. And even when it comes to farm workers, I mean, Donald Trump's making it clear, even though businesses maybe with, he said, look, we'll find a way for them to have the appropriate visas for that kind of time, but you're not going to get amnesty here. And it doesn't mean you can come and stay in this country forever. Okay. So this is important to understand. I want to bring my good friend Scott Brown into the conversation because he's got a lot of thoughts on all of this. And of course, he's running in the great state of Live Free or Die, New Hampshire. Joining me right now with more on all these issues today is my very good friend, the former senator from Massachusetts, possibly the next senator from none other than the great state of Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, Senator Scott Brown. Good to see you.
Trish, it's great to see you. I've been following you obviously forever and enjoyed working for you in the old job, and here we are again.
Hey, good times. It's a little different over here. I got to tell you, life is better on the other side. I kind of like not being part of the mainstream media anymore, but we'll save that for another day. Mostly I'm excited for you because you're back in the political arena. You're running in my home state, your home state, or at least a place that you've lived a lot for a long time. I'm excited for you. And I think it's coming at a critical time because, look, New Hampshire always struck me as the place that really was very even keeled. But as the left has gotten so crazy left, and we're seeing that out in California right now, it's all going down in real time, and in New York City, as the left gets so crazy, it's like we need to revert to the mean. And I feel like, what you can do, Senator, soon to be hopefully Senator from New Hampshire, not that I'm showing my bias or anything, but I guess I am, you can help bring that back. And I think it's important for the state, but it's also important on a national level. What's at stake?
Well, first of all, I'm also from New Hampshire. I was born at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. My dad was at Pease. My mom was in Portsmouth.
I did not know that.
Yeah, my first house was on Islington Street for a couple of years till my parents got divorced. And I'm a 9th generation son of the American Revolution out of Newington, New Hampshire. So, yes.
I honestly, because you were the senator from Massachusetts, I was thinking maybe it was a summer thing. My dad grew up on Stark Street. So Islington, Stark Street, I know it all well. I was just back there.
Yeah, we've had a home here since 1991, been full-time for 13 or 14 years. But, what's happening? Yes, obviously the Democratic Party is basically protecting people who are here illegally. They're criminals. They've hurt or killed some of our citizens, and, they're protecting them versus honoring and giving credit to the ICE agents who are actually doing their jobs. They're really people who want to protect the border, who want to get people out of here who don't belong here. And the Democrats are all in against those people. They're all in against the law enforcement. I mean, the guy I'm running against, Chris Pappas, he's not for qualified immunity with the police. So how do you not protect the police and the ICE officers and the Border Patrol agents who are just doing their jobs to keep our country safe? So you're right. It's far left with the men and boys and women and girls sports, the open borders, the sanctuary cities, lying about Joe Biden's physical and mental health. I mean, you and I know Joe Biden. He swore me in. That wasn't Joe Biden. I called it 5 years ago. So, yes, I'm hoping to bring it back. This is an important seat, one of the top 2 races in the country.
Your competitor has a big following in Manchester, which is, I like to explain it to people, think of New York State, right? Like New York State can't stand Letitia James, but New York City loves Letitia James. And so, we'll see whether or not she gets elected again. I think she's actually in a very vulnerable spot. But New York City carries a lot of weight. Manchester carries a lot of weight. Manchester has actually historically leaned pretty Right. So I'm kind of surprised that Chris Pappas, but he's from there, is going to, be able to carry much there. I think you actually are going to be very, very competitive as you look at the odds and the way that the population is thinking about these issues. Where is your edge?
Well, the edge is certainly in Manchester. I mean, he's from there, but no offense, he just voted against his own employees. Imagine walking into his restaurant that he owns and saying to your employees, "Oh, by the way, I didn't vote to, have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And by the way, the seniors that are eating there at the senior hour, I voted against giving you a tax break on your Social Security as well. And then, oh, by the way, the border, I still want people to come in, and the people that are here illegally, I still want that to happen." You can't find one thing to agree with the president on, in savings or border or, anything. So people get it. They're very, very smart. They get it.
This is the problem with the party, though. I mean, the party has gone so far left that your competitor, even if he wanted to kind of stand out, and I'm disappointed because he should. I think we've seen examples of New Hampshire politicians, Democrat or Republican, kind of being their own people. But for whatever reason, there's all this pressure. And I want to show you something because Hakeem Jeffries was just on The View just yesterday. I'm curious to get your reaction to this because it really sounds to me like Hakeem is wanting to go in this direction that many of his colleagues, like Pappas and others, are trying to promote. I want to play this and hear what you think.
Jeffries, you wear many hats, and one of your jobs is to try to win back the House for Democrats. And we were talking about immigration before we went to break. Now, some Democrats, amid the criticisms of ICE right now due to these ICE raids, have started calling for defunding ICE. Do you think that's effective going into the midterms, and do you support those calls?
Well, I definitely think that we need aggressive oversight as it relates to the overly aggressive behavior that we've seen, from ICE, from the Department of Homeland Security. It's not what the American people actually, in my view, voted for. Yeah. Donald Trump and Republicans promised to go after violent felons, but instead they're going after law-abiding immigrant families. And in fact, in some cases, deporting American citizens and children, some with cancer. America is better than this, and that's the reality. In terms of what House Democrats stand for, we believe that in this country, you work hard and you play by the rules, you should be able to experience the American dream. You should be able to afford to live the good life. And we believe that that's a good paying job, good health care, good housing, good education for your children, and a good retirement. And a good retirement, by the way, means keep your hands off of Social Security and Medicare now and all the time.
So, it all sounds good, right? He's got sort of all the button points down. But if you listen to the earlier part of that, it was sounded to me like they wanted to find some kind of path to, making sure that every person who's here illegally has that same opportunity at the American dream. And don't get me wrong, I'm hardly, anti-immigration. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my Irish immigrant family, coming here just a couple generations ago. I think America is very accepting and open, but there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. You don't just suddenly open the floodgates and say, come one, come all, 20 million, and we have no idea who's here, who's a security risk, who can actually support themselves, and who can help make us stronger as a nation. And yet this is the tactic they're taking, Senator?
Yeah, listen, the president was given a mandate, not only the popular vote, but the Electoral College to actually close the border and deal with many of the things that the minority leader is actually talking about. There is a process, and it's a legal process, and Joe Biden didn't follow it. Kamala Harris did nothing, but President Trump said he was going to stop it, and he did it almost instantaneously. It's remarkable. And all the benefits that they're talking about, they're not entitled to. And they're taking away benefits that our veterans and elderly and other people are entitled to. There should not be one single person here illegally getting any Social Security, any benefits, any housing at all. They should self-deport and follow the rules like your family and many other families have done. We just had a swearing in process for people down at Strawberry Bank, where you know where it is.
I've been to it. Small, I don't know if you know this, my cousin's the mayor there. He's on the
Oh,
other
no.
side, but he's the mayor in
I know,
Portsmouth. So
definitely
he's
is.
invited me in past years.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most wonderful,
Yep.
patriotic things I've ever seen. And like, it's so great, right? Like there's nothing, I've taken the kids because there's nothing better to do on the 4th of July than to go to
That's
that
great.
Strawberry Bank swearing in ceremony.
Yep. Yeah, so they're saying basically they're talking out of two ways out of their mouth. You can't do both. So listen, they're desperate. They're wrong on the issues. The things that they're talking about are 10 or 20% issues for the American public. They want people to have jobs, but they want them to be Americans who are here illegally. And as you notice, the American job growth is up dramatically. The people are actually participating in the process. And you know what? Their wages are going up. They're coming out of retirement. They're getting rid of the people that are here illegally. And Joe Biden used those numbers to manipulate the unemployment rates. And that's done. So the President Trump's right on that issue. We need to get more Americans in the workforce. And we need to have people who, if they're getting those benefits, they should be able to work 20 hours if they're able-bodied. Those are for people who are disabled, cannot work. There are many exceptions, but you can't volunteer or do something for 20 hours. Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, no, it's important. You know, it's sort of that work ethic is ingrained into who we are as a country and as a society. And it's not just, you know, we started by talking about California and the Democrats in general. You look at what's going on in New York City, I'm just sort of blown away at the idea that a communist, and I'm sorry, but like the guy's a complete communist. He's talking about decommodifying housing, for goodness sakes. I mean, wow, I never thought I'd see that day. But, you know, maybe it just implodes. Maybe everybody moves out of New York City. They're going to want to move to New Hampshire. Zero taxes, zero income, zero sales tax. You know, New Hampshire's a pretty special place because you guys have been able to preserve a lot of, frankly, what I think our founding fathers intended for the country. But you look around and you see all this chaos. Do you worry about it hitting home, literally?
Well, I lived in New York. I believe you lived in New York, and it's a different place now with all the open borders and taking the illegals into the hotels and the crime and, you know, a lot of the issues that are affecting New York City. And a lot of people are moving out. And obviously, you know, I don't believe anything he's talking about. Certainly when he's a little bit racist when you say, I was just going to tax the white neighborhoods. Well, New York is a vibrant, amazing city, one of the most amazing cities I've ever been to and lived in. But there's a way to do it. I have some very real concerns, and I'm hopeful that people kind of see through the flim flam that's being perpetrated, and you know, do the right thing and get somebody in there who actually wants to do their jobs and do it well.
Can I ask you, do you have a campaign website or anything if people want to sign up? We have a small following from New Hampshire. New Hampshire's a small state, but, you know, I'm born and raised from the place myself. So we got some New Hampshire folks. If you want to get involved and help Scott out or help his campaign and go door to door at all, where should they go?
Well, first of all, thank you. You have 1 million viewers. If everyone gives $1, that's $1 million. So you can go to scottbrown.com. You can volunteer. You can donate. You know, it's been amazing. I mean, since we announced, it's truly been fascinating. We put out 100 supporters, you know, major supporters. We're doing another 100 this Thursday. I don't have a primary. I'm running, and it's not for 15 months, but it's important. I listen. I've been a father, grandfather, a senator, ambassador in the military. I don't need Trish. I don't need another title, but Chris Pappas is looking for one. What I want is a stronger America. I want to be that problem solver who can fight to protect the New Hampshire advantage that is being chipped away by our federal delegation.
This is an important race. I mean, it's an important race because, look, I think we need every Senate, you know, I say we, but the GOP, the sort of MAGA movement needs every single seat it can get. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, more importantly, the people in New Hampshire need somebody who's going to fight for their interests and not be voting like they're from Massachusetts, Maine, or Vermont. And, you know, if we lose the House, then the lawfare against President Trump, his family, his secretaries is going to be off the charts. They already filed impeachment because he went and bombed Iran. Oh, apparently you need authority. Well, President Obama, when he went after bin Laden and dropped 26,000 bombs on different countries, he didn't need it, but the president Trump does an amazing job, and now he's getting impeached. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, that's AOC. Listen, I think it's going to run its course. And it needs to run its course because we just need to be united on this stuff. And when it comes to like something like that, and you're going to talk about impeaching the president, I'm sorry, you've lost us, right? You've just I mean, again, I get back to the proofs in the pudding, and we're looking at good economic numbers. We're looking at good, healthy wage growth. We're looking at a real resurgence of America. You look at the stock market, all of this is really good. So I'm hopeful that you're able to continue the good tradition. We'll check back in with you from time to time. Again, anytime I can talk to somebody from my home state of New Hampshire, I much appreciate it. And we got to get down to Salisbury and see you perform, right?
Well,
people don't know this. I'm a singer. They heard me sing the national anthem the other day.
We'll get you up. Well, you go to scottbrown-diplomats.com. Yeah, we're performing up in Jackson. We're being up in Maine at Aura. It's a wonderful release, and we opened up for Skid Row and a bunch of other bands. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I'd love to have you come out.
Oh, it's fantastic. Honestly, fantastic. And you self-taught by ear?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. We'll have to check that out. Thank you so much for joining us today. Senator Scott Brown from Massachusetts, from New Hampshire, soon to be, hopefully. We're rooting for you. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Trish.
Bye-bye.
God bless you, and God bless your viewers and listeners. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. We wish him tons and tons of luck. Just a wonderful guy, and from my neck of the woods. So I always like talking to people from the good live free or die country. You can help support his campaign at scottbrown.com, I believe he said. Anyway, I want to get back to the news of the day here because we've got the White House now filing suit over Title IX. You heard Scott mention this, right? Title IX is something that women fought really, 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 really hard for. And California has just decided to wipe it away. We got to get into that story, guys. But first, you know what? I keep saying the proof is in the pudding. And you look at the economic numbers right now, lots of great economic numbers. If you look at, for example, what we're seeing today, I need to change this graphic because guess what? Bitcoin is not at 111. It hit 112K a coin, 52-week high. What do you think of that? Markets are all higher. NVIDIA just crossed 4 trillion. We just put a piece out at 76 Research about NVIDIA. We've been writing nonstop about Bitcoin. We told you before the election, did we not? Get in when it was back at like 55, 56. Now we're looking at 112. It's hard to predict on these things. They're extremely volatile, as you know, but it's one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled to tell you about one of our new sponsors here on the show. And, this is really neat because this is, just hear me out for a second. This is a way of actually getting into Bitcoin without really having to get into Bitcoin. So you guys probably have credit cards. I have credit cards. I get points on my credit cards. And what I've noticed is over the last several years, like those points don't go as far anymore. And like I will hoard my points, okay? Like I'll save up my points. It like kills me to have to spend the points, right? So now I'm sitting on a bunch of points. And a few years ago, those points would get me a whole lot more than they're going to get me today, in all seriousness. And so when I heard about this, and by the way, it's an interesting company, Gemini. Do you remember the Social Network? Remember the rowers? See, like I'm really into rowing. I get kids that row, so this is like a big deal. The Winklevoss twins. They're the ones that started Gemini. And so they came up with this really interesting idea to have a credit card that costs $0. So you don't have to pay any fee. I have like a Amex that I pay something like $600 a year, right, to have this thing. And then I get all my points and my points go down in value. And I'm like, And then this thing actually gives you a certain percentage back in whatever you spend in Bitcoin or one of the cryptos of your choice. So it's kind of like, well, gee, if I don't really understand Bitcoin, I don't really know about Bitcoin. I mean, you think about how much Bitcoin's been up just since November. It could go down, of course, too. Don't get me wrong. I actually do think it's going up, though, over the long term. You have that sort of optionality. So you get the Bitcoin. I mean, if you want to transfer it into your bank account and turn it into dollars, you do that very easily on the app. But it's $0 for the card. Oh, and by the way, they give you $200 after a certain amount of spending. You get the $200 in free Bitcoin, or, like I said, you can pick the crypto that you like. I just found this really interesting because I'm like, wow, like actually my points might not just deflate every day. There's a chance that my points, if they're in Bitcoin, might actually be going up in value. So you can get this offer. I was really excited when I heard about it. And I like these guys because, maybe it's the rowing thing, but I think that they're really innovative and they've been sort of cutting edge in terms of how they've been thinking about Bitcoin. And when I heard about this, I thought this was just super cool. So I'm glad to be able to offer this up to you, especially to some of our people that are like, well, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. My uncle said this the other day. I was telling him, like, this is so cool. And he's like, yeah, I'm not so sure about Bitcoin. And I'm like, well, you don't even need to be sure because you're just going to get it and it's going to sit there and it's going to pile up. And he's like, well, can I transfer it into my bank account? And I'm like, yeah, you just sweep it over because your bank account is connected to the thing. He's like, but I'm like, why would you? Because you actually want the Bitcoin to grow in value. You don't want to turn it back into dollars because your dollars are, I'm sorry, over time, going to lose their value. That's why we talk about gold too, right? You don't want the dollar losing so much value. Anyway, that's a long-winded explanation on this credit card, but we're happy to have them on board as a sponsor. And I like being able to present things that are going to help you guys. And I think this is one of them. I know that we've been working hard at 76 Research to help you. It's why I created this company originally. I was like, we need to help arm people with the information that they need to be able to be successful as an investor, because I don't trust the big guys to do it and the money managers, et cetera. Like, I actually trust myself. I think you probably trust yourself too. And hopefully you can trust us because we have a lot of great ideas. You can get 76 Research for just $1. Go to 76research.com. We just put out a note today, actually, related to what the opportunities still are in this market as we look at NVIDIA crossing $4 trillion in market cap. And again, I got to change this lower third. Look at that, 112. We hit 111. We hit 112 there on Bitcoin. So that's kind of just darn amazing.